Well, as Iran tries to put down months of protests, more people than we knew about could be executed for their involvement in those protests. A CNN investigation done with an activist group called 1500 Tasvir found at least 43 people have been charged with crimes punishable by death, and the real number could be much higher. They include a 26-year-old footballer. He's accused of being involved in the killings of security officers during a protest. Iran's judiciary says fewer than a dozen people have received the death penalty over the unrest. So far, we know about 2 people who were publicly executed. On the left of your screen, you can see Madriza Ranavad with his mother, and on the right, Mohsen Shekari. Now, family and friends of those awaiting possible execution are begging the world to step in before it's too late. CNN's Nema El-Baga brings us this exclusive report.
My son has been sentenced to execution.
Mohammed Gobadlu is only 22.
My son is innocent. For the love of God, help him.
Desperate families in Iran, risking it all with a plea to the world to save their loved ones from execution. Fearing that detainees in Iran are set to face a wave of executions in an accelerated judicial process, while holiday celebrations have the world's attention elsewhere. In collaboration with Iranian activist group 1500 Tasvir, we work to verify court documents which show that dozens of Iranians, including high-profile Iranian athletes, face execution. We also work to verify video pleas like this one, from this 81-year-old mother of one of the detainees.
We don't know his whereabouts, no information about him, nor do we even know where he is.
This document from inside the Isfahan Regional Court shows that at least 10 people have been charged with muharaba, war against God, spreading corruption on earth and other charges, all which carry the possibility of the death penalty. Through obtaining and verifying court documents and witness testimony, we have evidence which supports a rushed-through judicial process, defendants having court-appointed counsel forced on them, many defendants having their right to appeal refused, some defendants faced with charges which could carry the death sentence being handed down in a single sitting. Terrified Iranian families believe that while the world is busy celebrating the holiday season, busy with their families, that they in Iran face imminent execution of their loved ones. CNN has confirmed that Iranian footballer Amir Nasser Azadani is among those facing execution. Here he is training ahead of match day. Now, he's on death row waiting. This is social media video from the night of his arrest. CNN made contact with someone close to Nasser Azadani inside Iran. We are not disclosing their identity. They told us that in the days after his arrest, they were unable to get word from him or about him from authorities, even as the Iranian authorities denied his arrest.
It was 1 month and 19 days. I think maybe even perhaps longer since the security forces came and wanted to see Amir's home.
And despite being told he would be freed,
they would tell us in the first few weeks that they will release Amir, and that Amir will be released by the end of the week.
Then came a charge of the crime of muharaba, war against God, which Nasser Azadani and 9 other people have been accused of, relating to involvement in the killing of 2 Basiji militia operatives and 1 policeman during protests in late November, a charge they deny. Now sources close to Nasser Azadani say he and 4 others have had their charges upgraded by the Isfahan court to Baghi, a charge punishable only by execution. There's more. In the regional court of Khuzestan, west of Isfahan, CNN has confirmed with 1500 Tasvir through court documents that 23 more people have been charged with the same crime, punishable by death. We're redacting their names out of fears for their safety. There is still more. In Karaj, CNN and 1500 Tasvir have confirmed that at least 5 more Iranians are facing execution, including 21-year-old Iranian Kurdish karate champion Mohammad Mahdi Karami, whose parents have also gone public with their plea.
Please, I beg you to please lift the execution order from my son's life.
In messages shared with CNN, his family say Karimi was not only sentenced to death, but is also being tortured in prison. In another message shared with CNN, they said Karimi was somehow in good spirits but physically damaged, having suffered torture on his head and body. Including those whose families recorded public pleas for help. That brings the total of those verified by CNN as facing execution to at least 43. And that's in addition to the 2 executed by Iran amid the excitement of the World Cup. Just this week, 27-year-old Iranian Kurdish rapper Saman Yassin attempted suicide whilst in detention, according to a source from the prison. Yassin tried to end his life, sources say, with pills, after enduring extreme psychological torture in the harsh prison conditions in northern Iran. As much of the world gets absorbed with their festivities, Iranian families have one message.
Please save them. For the love of God, save my sons.
Ni'am al-Bagher, CNN, London.
Well, CNN shared the findings with the US government and officials are responding. CNN's Carly Atwood is at the State Department with more on all of this. And Carly, after verifying these documents and videos and witness testimony gathered from CNN and this Iranian activist group, how is the State Department reacting?
Well, the State Department says they are gravely concerned about these reports of mass arrest, torture in prison, the sham trials, the confessions to crimes given under duress, and of course, now these death sentences that in some cases are actually being carried out. The spokesperson said that a lot of these death sentences are happening after sham trials where the Iranians don't have access to lawyers and just a fair trial, generally speaking. They say that this demonstrates that the Iranian leadership is fearful of its own people. This is something we've heard repeatedly from the State Department in recent weeks, but this is again how they are responding to this investigative reporting from CNN.
And Kylie, in terms of what else the US can do, what more can be done in order, if anything, really to save these young people on death row in Iran?
I think it's a great question. I think there's really no easy answer to that, though. I mean, particularly when it comes to individual cases, the ability of the U.S. government to intervene is extremely limited. But what the State Department has been doing, the Biden administration has been doing, is targeting sanctions on Iranian officials who have been involved in the crackdown, Iranians who are involved in the judicial process in the country. Their hope is that those sanctions that are beginning to, hit hard at those involved in these crackdown on protests could have some sort of a chilling effect, could, of course, have some sort of effect that would stop those involved from carrying this out due to the Iranian regime's orders here. We don't know if that'll happen, though. That is just the hope of the Biden administration. They say that more sanctions could be coming on those who are involved in these crackdowns.
All right, Carly Atwood for us at the State Department. Thanks very much. And if you want some more information, you can read more on our exclusive investigation by going to CNN.com. CNN's team, Nema El-Bagher, Zahid Mahmoud, Saline Akhil D, and Artemis Mushtagin, uncovering those chilling details into the plight of those sentenced to death inside Iran, speaking with several of their family members. We do encourage you to have a read for more on this disturbing but incredibly important story.